So thank you for taking time to talk to us. So do you want to give us a brief introduction to yourself?
Sure. I am Chris. I'm the founder and CEO at SharpRank.
And, for those that might not know, can you tell us a little bit about SharpRank?
SharpRank is sports betting's independent ratings agency. So for some people who might not be familiar with what that is, we are third-party oversight into any and everything that holds themselves out publicly as an expert making predictions on sporting events. So that could be everything from a TV personality to a social media influencer to a predictive algorithm. And any and all of that falls under our purview. We are, we look at ourselves as having very similar characteristics to what our equivalent is in every other industry. So that could be Morningstar for funds, that could be Moody's for credit, that could be Carfax for automotive. We just fill the void for the consumers to have a safe, easily digestible place to go to find information, much like you would go to a golf instructor if you were looking for tips on your swing, or a financial advisor for investing advice. We kind of facilitate that oversight in the market for publicly facing experts or sharps.
I mean, you've definitely filled kind of a gap in the market there when it comes to betting and gaming space.
Yeah, we did. We identified it actually hearing a radio ad with somebody selling their picks and making claims about their ability. And at the time, I was an investment banker and had to go through exams, background checks, compliance, all those sorts of things, and still couldn't do what was being done in this ad, which was maybe fudging their ability a little bit with respect to how good they are at doing something, but more importantly, guaranteeing money to a consumer. That is a big no-no in my former industry. So we set out to fill that gap. It has to come from the private sector, and so we built some very smart ratings algorithms and proprietary metrics and all those sorts of things that give the public a better understanding of who this person is as a sports bettor or as a prognosticator or whatever the case might be. So a lot of times it's simplified into like, okay, well, what's the win-loss record for this person? And we take a much deeper dive into that. We look at multifaceted risk profiles. We look at all different types of appetite, different types of patterns, techniques, all those sorts of things, so that the consumer has a menu of options and a wide array of how to look at this person or whoever it might be putting that prediction.
So I was speaking to a couple of your team members a few weeks ago, and they mentioned that you just released your first quarterly report. How do you see these reports fitting into your vision for the company kind of going forward over the next few years?
The quarterly report was fantastic. It was, it really showcased where we position ourselves in the market. From very early days of this company, we had always had the vision of being this ratings agency. And, so we have a consumer facing product, we have a B2B type product, and acting as that research hub and those types of things. And so when you think about what this quarterly report really did, it really took the bias out of what could potentially be the ability of the parent organizations of where these experts make picks from. So we're looking at, because our technology and our data science is built cross-sport functional and bet type agnostic, we have the ability to compare apples to oranges. So somebody who picks basketball can be compared with somebody who picks horse racing or football or whatever the case might be. And so we take all of that and we bring it from the individual level to the parent level and say, okay, here's the DNA of the team that makes up whatever media outlet it is, and how do they stack up against other teams at other media outlets or other social media influencers, etc. And for us, that's a really big role to fill, and it's a huge responsibility. It allows us to showcase some of our metrics and some of the things we do, but it also serves as a huge insight into the industry for content managers to say, okay, here's a snapshot of my team and here's two competitors, and how do we stack up relative to those two competitors or whatever the case might be. And we have the ability to go in on a monthly basis and, without any sort of touching by these content managers, produce monthly reports that help cut down on HR costs when it comes to hiring, promotions, raises, all those sorts of things, bonuses. And we kind of help act in that manner because of our independence. So when we produce that at the quarterly timeline, that's a snapshot of just that first quarter. But what's happening behind that is this is a living, breathing document that's happening every moment of every day. And so we curate that for partners that we work with and give them the ability to use us in whatever capacity is helpful for them to cut down on their bottom line.
Looking at SharpRank as a whole, how are you helping your partners to unlock this exponential growth in the market that you service? And, looking maybe then how does that tie into the sports betting market's development? It's growing across the US so much now. So obviously services like these are pretty integral.
It's a good question because a lot of people have very different views of what sports betting looks like going forward. And I think one of the things that you're seeing in the US is this merge of content platforms, traditional media platforms, with sportsbook operating platforms. Now, if you look to other industries and what that kind of looks like with having a separation between a research side and a trading side of the house, you're starting to see some inherent characteristics that require oversight. It requires that the public knows that there is a wall here, and that SharpRank is there to provide that insight for them and say, yes, all of these content creators are legitimate, but here's some basic statistics on them and the company as a whole, so you can get a better understanding of where to go with it. So as this market evolves, there's a couple different interesting ways that it can take. We do see a more alternative environment where all the characteristics exist for a stock market, all of them. And so what does that look like? Well, when you have a new market, you need infrastructure, you need participants, and you need oversight. And that third bullet is what we do. So we do not want to produce content. We don't want to make picks. We are not competitors with anyone out there in the market who is making content, making picks, all those sorts of things. What we do is we help validate them and give them the ability to, we call it weaponize and defend. So we give them tools to say, here's what my profile looks like. Like here's who I am as a sharp, as a bettor, as a picker. And the public can then use that to match to what is of interest to them. Maybe they like somebody who has a very high risk tolerance. Maybe they like somebody who picks in a certain spread bucket. Maybe they like somebody who is really good at picking their favorite team. We provide like a menu of options for the consumer to come to and say, okay, this is my girl or guy who I kind of want to start to know more about. and on that platform get to know a little bit more about, because there are a lot of very smart people out there. And unfortunately, what's happened is similar to oversight in financial markets. There was snake oil that seeped into that, and then you couldn't differentiate between the truth and what was not actually reality. We put a stake in the ground and kind of say, we're not going to come out here and pick fights. We can tell you what exists under our umbrella. And so waving that flag of transparency with our early partners has been like very, very well received in the market, because no one who picks sports wants that association. They don't. And so we offer them an ability to say, hey, help us bring this market to be more transparent. Full information is kind of required for a market to mature. And we've all seen what happens in a market when oversight doesn't exist or oversight does not do the job that it's supposed to do. And I think that's a big key differentiator between us and what a lot of people might view us as a competitor to is, there is no conflict of interest. You know, there might be other sites that have leaderboards or whatever the case might be, but they're all also putting out content and picks, and you're getting into a situation where you're forward rating pickup trucks, and you know, how valid is that actual rating? So we stand on our independence, we stand on our data science and our tech, and help deliver that to our clients to kind of not just help them currently, but help the market evolve as a whole. I mean, there are still financial markets that need to get tied in as either market makers or institutional capital. You know, and what does that look like in the future?
You know, when it comes to kind of the transparency side and kind of providing that oversight, what kind of, at least from your experience, what would you say have been the key challenges with that?
The main challenge when you do something, when you create any category, right, is so what? You know, like, so what? You know, it works, and this is like the death of every business model is we've always done it this way. We haven't needed you in the past. Like, so what, right? And we present a really nice option for people with forward-looking mindsets, people who see the way the market is trending and say, this is inevitable. I would rather be an early adopter to this and wave the flag with this group than let the wave crash on my head. And so that is always the biggest challenge when you're creating that category. And then from there, the biggest challenge is focusing on execution of explicitly what that objective path looks like, and continuing to hit the milestones that get you to where you want to be in 5 years. We break that down very simply into an OKR system so that on a daily basis, everyone knows that what they're doing is impactful to the company and meaningful to the market as a whole. So when we do those sorts of things, it helps us deliver for our clients and to the market. But, you know, there are always going to be people who say this isn't necessary.
Is it like the legacy way of doing things?
Yeah, it'll always exist. And there's nothing, look, we have to exist for this market to mature. It has to happen. It's not like a nice to have, you know what I'm saying? And so, given that, and given the conviction behind that, our sales to businesses, media properties, etc., is to, you know, one, we add a ton of value to what they can do, what they can offer, how they can present themselves. But, you know, secondly, you have a choice, right? At any moment, you have a choice. You can be somebody who is a big proponent of transparency and an algorithmic data science approach model of transparency, or you can stay pat. And look, that is totally their decision. I do believe we'll be having conversations with them anyway, because it's bound to happen, and look, we don't hold any sort of grudges. Everyone makes their own decisions, and we're a completely independent platform. So we're beholden to no one. But with states coming online as fast as they're coming online and the public consuming as much information as they're consuming, there will need to be SharpRank. And we just built it for the demand of today, but you want to be delivering for today as well as what the future of this market looks like. And I think we do both of those really well.
Something I wanted to touch on was 3D profiling and data attribution. So in your opinion, what role does this play when it comes to understanding, influencing, and then kind of subsequently monetizing existing customers?
When people think about us as a whole, I think there's a couple ways to think about it. Sure, there's the public facing component of what we do. There's the research, there's the ratings, there's the tear sheets and sharp cards and all these sorts of things that are proliferated out into the market. Beneath the surface, we are a very, very in-depth data science company. And so every sharp, every consumer, everyone who has some sort of picking pattern or picking behavior, we look at and pick apart to a molecular level. Like we are looking at some very, very deep understanding of who this person is, what they're attracted to, from a content perspective, from a bet type perspective, from all these sorts of perspectives. And so for clients that we have, that's an additional service that we provide them, is like, hey, rather than everyone get the same NBA conference finals email or content, let's individualize that and have it feel completely unique, right? Completely unique to the consumer that's getting it. And that's where we come in, because we have such deep data science attached to what we're giving and what we're showing the public. A lot of folks at sportsbook operators, media platforms, content providers say, hey, I kind of want to use some of these to inherently create a profile of who this person is. And then, that they can take that information, cluster groups together, and attach somebody who might be a sharp on their platform to a similar attribute. So that can go, we just released our most recent metric. It's the Princeton percentile, right? And so it looks at opportunity gain and cost. And so how much potential money am I leaving on the table, or how much money am I saving, and so on and so forth, by different levels of risk assumption and things of that nature. And so that's a great way to understand somebody's risk appetite. But it's also only one of about 6 to 8 metrics for risk that we look at. So, we definitely take a very comprehensive view of who this person is. And that's the weaponizing aspect that I talk about. So the defense is one where the expert can say, look, I'm not making these claims. This is a third party's opinion of me. The weaponizing becomes giving them those sorts of tools and insights and research that is not available other places. It is completely proprietary to SharpRank.
For those that might not know, and I mean, I think it's mental that people don't know, that you guys took the top prize at SBC, North America's first pitch competition, back in December. So you just tell us a little bit about what that experience was like.
Well, I am very excited about the pitch competition this year. So I'm definitely going to be front row. You will, if you're out there thinking about pitching, just know that I will be sitting there critiquing very hardly. But our experience was great. SBC put together a panel of judges that was completely comprehensive to the sports betting market. Very, very smart, very intelligent, very experienced people. And for someone like us who, I strongly say that no one's path to sports betting in the US is linear just because it's so new. So I come from banking. We have all sorts of different people flooding into the market. Being able to have some of those judges look at your product, look at your value prop to the market and evaluate it is huge. I mean, it's great. And, we've been in two pitch competitions now, and like we've maintained and built relationships with the other people who pitched with us as well as the judges. It's a great place to do that. It's perfect for it. So, I could not be a bigger fan of what that is. And likewise, I love the conciseness of the pitch competition. Oftentimes, those can get drawn out, and if you can't concisely convey your message in 3 minutes or less, like it's.
Well, they say, I think with a lot of companies, is it the elevator pitch?
Yep.
You should be able to get kind of the main selling points of your company across in the time it would take you to get from the bottom floor to the top floor. Granted, that depends on the size of the building, but
well, that's what we call it. We the 3-minute pitch we call the very tall building elevator story. So, but yeah, it's a great environment. The event as a whole is a great environment, and for us, it's definitely something that we will be at this year. We'll be milling around. You'll see a few of us out there. So, but yeah, it was great, and if somebody's out there thinking about pitching or should I even give it a shot? Why not? Like, the gain versus what the potential, the opportunity cost of it is, like it's a no-brainer. So I highly recommend it. I also highly recommend attending it, because as somebody who sat there and watched 4 people pitch in front of me, there were aspects of sports betting that you're really seeing like the cutting edge of what people are trying to develop in the market. And so for us, that was super interesting.
And one that final question that I had for you, what can we expect from SharpRank for the remainder of this year?
Well, you'll see more quarterly reports. You'll see more research reports going out. You'll definitely see some more partnerships being announced. And, I mentioned this, a decent amount, but we have 3 main buckets in our company. We have initiate coverage, we have a watch list, and we have an out of scope. And so while people are in this watch list, we are keeping an eye on them from afar. We don't let them know that we're doing it, but we are watching how they present themselves publicly. We'll run some numbers and crunch some numbers on them kind of behind the scenes. And just as importantly, we'll see how they interact with the public. And if it appears that somebody in that watch list or a group in that watch list can maintain a certain level of guidelines, integrity, those types of things that we are really important to us as a company, then we'll approach them, and we have one-on-one conversations with everyone we initiate coverage on. So when you see a press release that we have initiated coverage on someone, you can bet that we have done our research on them. We've had a one-on-one conversation with them, and they are now under this umbrella, and can be looked at for advice. So you'll see more of that. You'll see more sports popping up on our consumer facing product. You'll see a couple other things on that consumer facing product that is being built right now. But our main focus and our big focus is delivering on these B2B initiatives and really, really driving the market forward. It's one of those things that just our existence in the market is enough to start the migration forward into a fully transparent marketplace. And we're going to do everything we can to help fulfill that and execute on. So yeah, I mean, it'll be a very big year for us. We just closed our seed round, so we won't be out there fundraising. I don't think, but yeah. Otherwise, we're continuing to just execute on what it means to be the only independent ratings agency in sports betting, and that's it. And that, like, we have no aspirations of other sorts of content, predictions, anything like that. If we are doing something, it is directly related to executing on that objective. We are very excited about where we are. We're very excited about where we've been, where we're going, where the market's going, and where we're helping it go. We are always open for business and inquiries, and not even more so than that, we are open for feedback. We take a lot of what our clients say very seriously, and we vet it out. And if it makes sense, we take a look at it. So please get in touch. Let us know what else we can do to help move this market forward. But and the other side of that is pick up the phone. so if you get a call, we are here to help. That's a big one for us as well. So reach out, info@SharpRank, and from there, I hope to see everybody in July.